Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel Faiz Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing a really amazing piece of hardware from the house of Mario, the Nintendo Switch 2. This is a sequel hardware to the original Nintendo Switch. I'm going to start with the pros first. This new console is a huge improvement in my opinion from the original Switch. It's been around over 8 years since the first Switch came out. I think when it came out, it was already quite behind the competition, you could say, compared to the PlayStation and the Xboxes. So this is a huge jump from that original Switch. I want to talk about the JoyCons. The JoyCons have been improved a lot. It has this magnetic pull instead of it snapping onto the console. The magnets are really nice and tactile, and it creates a really nice firm grip onto the console. It's much bigger as well compared to the original Joy-Cons. Those I felt were always a little too small for my hands, especially the display. The display is a lot better. It's got a full HD display. It's around 120 FPS. I think it's VRR as well. So it's really bright. It is LCD, which is compared to OLED, the colors are a little less, vibrant. They're a little bit more washed out, but it's still, because it's an HD display, it's really sharp. So that sharpness really helps in the games. I tested out a couple of old games. They have improved on the Switch too. I have a game called Pokemon Violet. I'm sure a lot of people who had the Switch probably played a lot of Pokemon games. When I bought it on the Switch, it was very glitchy. On this new hardware, it really works well. The glitchiness is pretty much non-existent. In fact, it's at a 60 FPS, I think, all the time on the handheld version of it. On the television, it's actually a 4K output. So that's really good. On handheld, which I usually play mostly on handheld, it's really nice. It was really vibrant. There were no, stutters, from what my eyes could see. It really performed well, and I could really get through the full game, and I couldn't get through the full game on the original Switch, so that was a huge plus. The audio is also better. It's more stereophonic. I feel like there's this 3D audio effect that they have. The original Switch, the audio was, I think, lacking. It wasn't as loud as I wanted it to be, and would be a little bit tinny. On the Switch 2, it is not as tinny. But I think the crux of what really sells the Switch 2 is just the fact that it's so much faster. Nintendo eShop, for example, opens up really fast. It loads really fast. You can really, surf through it quickly as compared to the original Switch. The dock itself is a lot bigger. It's got an inbuilt fan in it, I think, because of all that horsepower. So that horsepower really comes into play, especially in the newer games. I played an older game called Rune Factory 5 as well. That used to stutter a lot, especially in the outdoor sequences, but now it doesn't stutter anymore. But just the raw horsepower of the Switch 2 really irons out a lot of glitches. But I think overall the Switch 2 is such a huge jump for Nintendo. The price has also gone up because of that, especially here in India. It gets taxed like nobody's business, so it is a lot more expensive because of that. But I think the price will eventually keep going down because it's going to age. Yeah, but otherwise I think it's a great piece of hardware, and I think if you do buy it, I think a lot of people are going to buy it initially just to play all the other catalog that they couldn't finish on the Switch. I think the hardware really dropped the ball. The games are really good, but the hardware didn't follow through. So I think this time around the hardware is there. Now all they have to do is create those fun games that they keep on creating. The new Donkey Kong is going to come out, and I'm pretty sure, I think it's made by the same guys who made Super Mario Odyssey, so I think it's going to be really good. And I feel this time around it's going to be a lot more streamlined. I know it's not as innovative as we've seen Nintendo be. I remember my first console was a Game Boy Advance. I played that when I was like so young, and my first gaming experience was on that. So to see the handheld from what it used to be to what it is now, and the kind of advancements that have happened in the industry is really nice. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep on playing and experimenting with the new console. I'm also learning new things about it. The haptic feedback, for example, is a lot better now. There are so many things, that they've done well. I just feel the one place where they dropped the ball is that, I felt like the display could have been a little better. Going away from OLED was kind of a step back. But the burn-in issues won't be there hopefully on this one because it's not OLED. That was the only thing that I had a little bit of a problem with. Other than that, it's a great console. I feel like all they have to do now is keep making games for it and dedicated games for it. They have the hardware now, so now they have to just push the game side of it. And I think it's fantastic. I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5 as a piece of hardware. That's my review for it. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching and for taking the time out to support me and support this channel. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.